Hi there. I've been thinking about something lately, and pattern interrupt. I love the ability of these AIs to make these cool pictures. It's so much fun, and it just draws me in as I talk with you. But anyway, today I'm thinking about God, that mysterious entity that we call all kinds of things: the universe, the great spirit, the unified field, the collective humanity, oneness, non duality. It's a name or a description that we give to something we feel, and we know we feel it, something larger and more powerful than we are, and something that is just everywhere. Now, some people live in a place where they just ignore that, operate without it. Some people live in a place where they deny it vehemently. And I don't, deny anyone the privilege of living and thinking and believing and experiencing like they do. But I want to share with you two things. I'm going to share with you what I know from my experience, and I want to invite you into an experiment. Let's do that. So everything I'm saying is not by way of direction, excuse me, not by way of direction or not by way of convincing you or anyone of anything. It's not that. It's sharing an experience. So I was thinking about if I created a title for this conversation, what would it be? It's a little irreverent, but I titled it "The God Who Gives a Damn." And I'm wondering, in this context, what how you think about that. Because that great divine power, the great spirit, the universe, the conscious oneness, whatever we call that, sometimes we think about it, or it's portrayed as ambivalent. It's just the balancing thing. It keeps things in balance: yin and yang, good and evil, light and dark. Sometimes it's portrayed as indifferent, which is quite different than ambivalent, that God is somehow indifferent, doesn't care one way or the other what happens. Sometimes it's portrayed as a being that I didn't have anything else to do and got bored, so they created people. Sometimes it's a little more interesting than that. Being gets bored, and so he wants to express himself through all of us as creation. And now anybody can think, I'm not trying to convince you of anything particularly, but my experience is different than all that. My experience is there's a God, a creator who cares. When I died and had my conversations with that being, I came away with 4 certain things that I knew for sure. One is that we're divinely created and lovingly created. We're created from love, out of love, driven by love, which means caring, which means nurturing, which means all the things that, we know love means. So my experience is there is a God or a divine being who cares, who gives a crap. And I said, God who gives a damn. And I'm going to get more detailed than that, not vaguely, not generically, and not some distant thing who occasionally hums around in the background, takes a peek. Oh, okay. But my experience is that there is a divine, I call it God, you call it whatever you want, who knows, who cares, who knows you, who knows your name, who sees us, who sees the path that we're on, and who invites, and who has a purpose. And who's grounded in love and who honors our individuality, our separateness. How I experienced this is we were created, the four things, we were created from love. We were given in that creation gifts and talents that we developed and enjoyed before we came here. We were given a mission and purpose here in this particular space of existence that we wanted to do. We not only agreed to, but we were excited about, stoked about, jumping up and down, yay. And the fourth thing I came to know is that all the help we need is available from both sides of the veil, the door, call it whatever you want. My conversations took place at a door. So that's what I know. That's what I've experienced. And it's not what I've always experienced, because I lived life a lot treating God sort of indifferently. I knew there was something there like we often do, but I just did my own thing. And because I struggled a lot with depression and self-sabotage, that own thing took me to some pretty dark places, some pretty destructive places that damaged me and others. But if you think for a minute, if you just consider the possibility that there's a God who loves you, who will hold you as much as you let him, who will help you as much as you let him, who knows the service you are capable of giving, who knows the full extent of your possibility and wants nothing more than to have you be joyful and happy and reach that full development. It makes me weep to think about that. And I'm not weeping right now, but I often do when I think about that love. A lot of times people get stuck, and I have too, on the idea, my limited idea of what that ought to mean. Well, if he loves me, he shouldn't make it so hard, and all these bad things shouldn't happen to me, and I shouldn't have these failures and bankruptcies and illnesses and betrayals, and I shouldn't have this, that, and the other. And I sort of have this long string of things. I have a client who talked about wanting to file a lawsuit against God because life wasn't fair. It isn't fair. So there's no defending that it's somehow fair. It isn't. But here's what I know we have. You have a divine soul, so do I. You are a divine being, so am I. You have gifts and talents, so do I. We also have something really, really important, and that's something, I'll just call it agency. An agency is you get to choose. You get to create. You get to respond to things. You get to speak. You get to refuse to forgive. Or you get to forgive. You get to build. You get to tear down. You get to hide. You get to serve. You get to waste your gifts. And you get to multiply your gifts. You get to take the raw material of your life and this time and space to make something if you want. That's why I talk so much about ownership, WIPOS, worth, identity, possibility, ownership, and sovereignty. Ownership means, and I invite you to consider this, you own every second of your life, every minute, every decision, every choice. And when I hear myself or someone else say, but I had no choice, or when I find myself feeling like I have no choice, I just revolt. We always have a choice. We have a choice about what to think, what to say, what to do, what to believe, what to act on, what to ignore. And here's something funny. We argue with reality. We are so, I find it arrogant. We are so arrogant that we think we ought to know how things ought to be. We argue with the timing of the universe, even though it's been unfolding for billions of years without my help. We argue with God. We argue with other people's journey, wherever they are. We argue with what happened, shouldn't have happened, this shouldn't have been done. We argue with our age. We argue with the body as it gets old. I'm going to be 71 this year, and I got all kinds of creaky crap. And so we argue with the past. We demand that the future be a certain thing. And you know what? That comes from myopic arrogance. my opinion. You can divine it how you want. But myopic arrogance is thinking we ought to know how it is. So what I've learned is surrender. Surrender doesn't mean abdication or giving up. I just mean I choose to allow the truth of divine architecture to operate in my life. There is a divine path. I can't see it. I get glimpses, and I'm committed to maximizing the gifts and talents that I have. I'm committed to love you with everything I can. I'm committed to help as many people as I can on the journey to develop their gifts and talents so we all go home as fully developed as we can be. And so I can't see the whole picture. I quit pretending that I could. I can't see the whole story, but I'm responsible and response-able for every single choice. I am responsible. And when the divine communicates with us, there's all kinds of ways. There's lots of sacred literature that's written, and you can decide whether or not that means anything to you. It means a lot to me. It tells me a lot about how the divine interacts with us, what the divine expects. It reveals some of the secrets of creation, although we don't understand it. Let there be light's not very explanatory, but I've come to realize that I can't understand anything beyond let there be light. I know that the sun, for example, is a fusion furnace. But really the architecture of how that works, how it's put together, and how it keeps burning, it's so far beyond anything I can comprehend, even though I can say the words, with all the research. So we live inside this divine mystery, and we spend so much time arguing with it. We spend so much time demanding that it turn out a certain way. So when I say surrender, I don't mean give up my agency or my choice or my desire to build or do or make money or live the ultimate life. No, but I understand that all that has to happen in the context of what is immutable, eternal laws. But you know what? I don't find that limiting at all. I found that I have energy, matter, visibility, motion, decision, order, awareness. I have the ability to create, and so do you. So I offer you in a practical sense to think about this. Sometimes we get angry because things don't go the way we want them to, or they seem to go harshly against us. But here's some things I've learned, and I share with you as an invitation. Number one, stop pretending you're the final authority on anything, because you're not. You're the final authority on your own agency and your own thinking, and that's it. Stop pretending your opinion is the whole truth. It is not. It is your opinion, and you're entitled to it, but it's not the truth. Stop pretending your gifts don't matter. They do. Stop pretending, stop pretending that humility means hiding, because it doesn't. It means not taking credit or bragging. It doesn't mean not to be. Even in some literature, it says, let your light so shine that people can see your good works and glorify the divine. So here's what I've learned. I love spending my time practicing. I've fallen in love with the process of being human, practicing the piano to get better, practicing singing to get better, practicing loving to get better, practicing forgiving to get better, practicing writing to get better, write better books, practicing loving my wife better, practicing loving my kids more, practicing loving my clients more. Those things are worth practicing. And sometimes we pretend that we're only dust or biology and that we're an accident. If that were true, nothing would matter. But you know what? They do. Every time we tell the truth, it matters. We become something more. Every lie matters. Every thought I rehearse matters. Every bitterness I feed. Every person I refuse to forgive. Every time I carry anger about myself. Every time I refuse to act. Every time I return to love. Every time I forgive somebody. Every one of those matters. every time I practice being a loving presence, every time I practice making money in a good way, every time I practice adding good to the world, all those things are practicing being alive, practicing becoming more as a human being. All the things I create, music and money and bank accounts and houses and everything else, that's not going with me. Well, the memory of music and stuff will. But what does go with us is what we've made of ourselves. So if I've made of myself a thoughtful, kind, introspective, humble, forgiving source of love, that goes with me. If I've made of myself an arrogant, bitter, frustrated, demanding person, that goes with me. If I've practiced speaking kindly, that goes with me. If I've practiced speaking sharply, that goes with me. If I practice fear, that goes with me. If I practice resentment, that goes with me and I get better at it. If I practice self-gratification or judgment, all those things go with me. And if I practice forgiving and love and kindness and creativity, and if I practice daily, and I do this, intentionally coming closer to the divine, trying to understand what the measure of my creation is. I'm curious about that. I used to get frustrated and think, I'm going to do whatever the frick I want. It's my life. And I'm free to do that. And I did that. I lived like that for a long time, did whatever I wanted and got the outcomes commensurate with that. But what I've learned about surrender and covenants and perseverance, those are my power words: surrender, covenants, or consecration, and perseverance. What I've learned about those is that when I talk to the divine, the creator, and I learn what is the measure of my creation, what my gifts and talents could do, who I could become, what is possible, I am happier, I get a lot more done, and I make a lot more difference in the world. So it is not about giving up my agency. It is about choosing to use my agency advised by the wisdom of the Creator. I don't have to do that. And I've lived not doing it and doing it, but I've discovered that being advised by that and doing it on purpose every day, all the time, every time, has made a huge difference in my life. Now, since you are a divine being, and since we live with a God who gives a damn, here's some things that are true out of that. Your worth is not determined by your performance. Your worth is not determined by your income. It's not determined by applause. Your value is not earned by getting everything right. It's not earned by pleasing everybody. Your worth is fixed. Your worth is infinite because you're a divine being. The question is what to do with that. Your worth is established. Then since you are that, then the question is what is possible because of that? What's possible is you and me, we can direct our lives. Even if right this minute you're in a difficult situation emotionally or financially or physically, maybe you have an illness, maybe you're bankrupt, maybe you have whatever it is. I'm not arguing with that. What I'm saying is from whatever position you are in right this minute, you can choose to act in a positive, creative way, or you can choose to act in a negative, angry way, arguing with reality or harmonizing with reality. I've found by sad and difficult experience, the more I trust the divine, surrender, consecrate myself to that growth, choosing to use my agency in that direction, I'm freaking way happier. I make more money and I make a bigger impact in the world. Like I see that over and over again, and I've tried all the different ways. And so I share that with you because I want to offer you an invitation. Go all in your life. Trust your divinity and learn to hear intuition. Learn to hear inspiration, maybe, right? Because you do have a God who gives a damn. You have a creator that's right there ready to help you. And we get so, I won't say we, I used to get so frustrated that I couldn't sort of treat God like a cosmic vending machine. do some things or say some things or try some stuff and then expect a certain result. And obviously I don't understand how the universe works. If I do that, if I treat God as a cosmic vending machine, it isn't that way. We are built to grow. We're born small and we grow up. We're built to develop our gifts and talents. We're built to love and serve each other. And the fun is the game of figuring out how to do that in a way that makes the most money and the most impact for good in the world and feels the most fun to live that way. That's why I talk about Your Ultimate Life all the time. Sorry, Your Ultimate Life podcast. It's a show I have to talk about living a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy every day, all day. Because the things that I've shared with you today, I live them. So I'm not talking about something. I'm talking from my daily lived experience, and it is joyful. And so I call that divine being God. And so I praise God for the possibility and the opportunity. But I want you to leave with a couple of certainties. You are known. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you are known. You are known to the divine. You are loved. You are capable, and you are also responsible for your own choices and actions. Who we are is a direct result of what we think, what we speak, and what we do. Those things etch themselves on the fabric of our soul. And fortunately, it is not in indelible ink. It is etched there unless we do something else. We can change the engravings. We can change the etchings. We can become someone new. We can change. The study of neuroplasticity and all that. That's just a physical representation of changing pathways, neural pathways in the brain, which means changing your habits. And it also means you can change your beliefs. It also means you can take past sad experiences and turn them into power. It means you can take any piece of your life and grow from it. That's what that means, okay? And there's a spiritual neuroplasticity too. Your spirit is not permanently marked by anything. It may be deeply marked by things that have happened to you, but those are fixable and changeable. And I say this from my own experience. So here's some final questions to take home with you. Where have you been living small on purpose because you're afraid of something? Where have you been using humility, so to speak, to hide? Where have you been using fear to avoid using your agency? Where maybe are you pretending you need more certainty before you act? Where are you maybe believing that your opinion is the absolute whole truth instead of exploring? Where have you forgotten to be in awe of the universe and of yourself and of your own divine capabilities? They're awesome. Where have you forgotten you are loved? Where have you forgotten that every single choice makes a difference? Maybe a better way to say all those questions is, what would you do differently if you remembered? Yes, we're individually tiny, but you're loved and you're known. And if you remembered you're a divine being, and if you remembered God gives a damn, and if you remembered there's opportunity everywhere, and if you remember your soul is valuable, and if you remembered you had gifts and talents, and if you remembered you deserve to live the life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, but we have to create it. It doesn't come in an Amazon box. What would you do differently if you remembered those things? I love you. I speak these things by way of invitation, but not by way of philosophical conversation. They come by way of deep, lived experience that sometimes has cost a lot. So I invite you to love, to forgive, to rejoice. And no matter what's going on, use your gifts and move forward. Create. Live into the divine being that you are every day. even when difficult things happen. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. You are in the light.